All you homeowners have unique needs. Some feel the need to paint their door a vibrant shade of blue. Others have the need to decorate their bathroom with fish, anchors, and other nautical items. And because each homeowner has unique needs, Geico helps you get the right coverage for your home and what's in it. That way, you get exactly what's right for you, even if your needs are unique. Get more with Geico.
You got problems that you ought to be concerned with. Moolah! You don't know how you're supposed to earn it, or what to do with it, or how to keep it. You're a freak with a dark, shameful secret. But you're not the only one. Get your hidden financial fears with a blast of sun. Now your healing has begun. It's Bad with Money with
Gabe S.
Done.
Hello and welcome to Bad with Money, a show about finances and feelings where we don't talk down to you. I'm your host, Gabe S. Dunn. And if anyone has been following me for long enough, you know that mommy vloggers and family vloggers are my, I would say, number 3 enemy on my top 5 enemy lists. So I've wanted to talk about this for a long time. So Fortesa, can you introduce yourself and tell us what you do?
Yes. Hi, I am Fortesa. I am a journalist. I have bylines in Rolling Stone, the Washington Post, the New York Times, Teen Vogue, all over the place. And my beat is child influencers, mom influencers, family vloggers, that whole world. And really quick, before we jump in, I have to say, I need to know your top 2 enemies if family vloggers are number 3.
Well, ticket scalpers, just like people who create fake tickets to concerts and then give them to people, and then the people get to the concert and they don't actually have tickets. They're number 2.
I didn't even know that was a thing.
Yeah, like fake Taylor Swift tickets and stuff. Like, no, I'm sorry, no, that's
sad.
horrendous. So that. And then number 1 changes all the time. But like my joke is that number 3 is mommy vloggers and they stay there. Fake ticket sellers are like number 2 and 4 sometimes, respectively. I mostly just like change it around. But I have been talking a lot about child influencers and that kind of thing because it really stresses me out. And also, like, obviously I was alive before the internet, but my parents were very forthcoming with everyone in their lives about what I was doing as a child, and I hated it. So I can't imagine being on the internet in that way. And I think it triggers like a fight or flight in me or something that's very personal. So why did you get onto this beat?
You know, I've thought about this a lot, and I don't know. How old are you?
I'm 36.
Okay, so I'm 31 and I really grew up in the time of like 16 and pregnant and teen mom and like that kind of stuff on MTV. And then there was like John and Kate +8 on TLC. And there were like all these kids that were just like their entire lives were being filmed from like sometimes before they were born.
Yep.
And I was just like, this is fascinating. I was really interested in that. And then as I kind of found my footing in journalism, I started looking around and seeing that kind of experience of the reality TV kids like replicating itself, but in a much less structured way with influencers. And it's not that, you know, you have producers coming in and there's a set and that kind of stuff, but it's the parents are the producers and the home is the set. And I just was like fascinated. Like I just couldn't look away. And I think the best kind of journalism comes out of that thing where you're just like, wait, I cannot stop thinking about this.
Definitely. Yeah. I mean, that's why this show exists. How did this all begin? Because it's like the thing of reality TV where you get kind of, you draw a line from Oprah, Jerry Springer to the OJ trial to the Kardashians to, you know, and so how did we get to, oh, you know what? I'm going to make my own reality show of my family and I'm going to produce. Because I guess it started probably with blogging and then on to video, yeah?
Yeah, so it started with the mommy bloggers of the early aughts. So this was kind of like between like 2005 and 2008 is when the mommy bloggers really took off. And it's like so fascinating to think about now. And I've interviewed them for my book and they really were just like kind of writing into the void. Like they were these educated women who were losing themselves or felt like they were losing themselves in that first year of motherhood, which like, hi, same. Like I feel that literally right now. And the way that they were trying to find their way to this new version of themselves was writing these blogs. And they were like, literally just like text blogs on like Blogspot or like whatever. And there weren't even photos. Like it's fascinating because now you think of the mom influencers of today and it's all about like what they look like, right? But like back then it was like these women were not influencers in the way that we think of them now. They were writers and they were writing these like incredibly moving and like lengthy missives on like postpartum depression and like what it feels like to resent your husband and like what it's like to have a miscarriage. And it was just like incredible stuff. And then eventually they started really gathering followers, or I guess it would be like
readers.
views or readers, on their blogs. And that's when the advertisers came in and saw this, this opportunity. And so they started running like banner ads. And I read about this in Taylor Lorenz's book, Extremely Online. And it's fascinating because when the first mommy bloggers started monetizing their blogs, there was a lot of pushback because people were like, you're selling out. And it's so different from the way that we think about like influencers now. But I will say, and like I 100% believe that influencers of today and family vloggers, but even influencers in general, would not exist without mommy bloggers.
For sure. And I think there's a safety maybe back then. Like it's hard to explain to younger people, but stuff didn't really go viral because there wasn't a singular place where people were. So, I mean, I would read these blogs, but I had kind of no way, not mommy blogs, but like I would read nerd blogs. And there was not really a way to know other people who read it. Like there wasn't like a community around it. No. There wasn't like, I would be like, this guy is so funny, but what would I do? Show it to my dad? Like I didn't have a way to like know anyone else who read it or to engage with the person. Like it would never have occurred to me to write to this guy, So or comment. So I think like if there was the capacity to comment, so it felt safer to write about things. It felt safer to share stuff online because you weren't showing your picture. Maybe you had a pseudonym, the way that like, this is not kids, but like Aubrey Gordon would write under your fat friend rather than. And so there were like more anonymous stuff. And then if like someone in your real life, quote unquote, found your blog, it was like mortifying. You did not want anyone to find it. Yeah.
That was me on Tumblr, even in like 2014. Like I had a Tumblr. My name was Mad Girl F, which is just like, I still stand by that. Like great username. I remember people in my real life finding it. And I was like, no, dude, that's like my online self. Like that's like that's a different thing.
Or it was almost like a diary, which I know sounds stupid because every single thing you've ever posted can go viral or can be whatever. But like it was really an online diary and there was no thought, at least for these people, about like becoming famous from it.
No. Well, because there was no like there was no framework for that. Like the mommy bloggers were not writing to become famous. Like they were writing because they had to say something and because they felt so alone and because no one, especially at that time, no one was talking about the things that these women were talking about. Like now we kind of take it for granted that like moms can like discuss like postpartum depression or like difficulties with breastfeeding or whatever, like feeling resentful. But like nobody talked about this back then. Like it was all very like hush hush. So it was like honestly extremely like radical for these women to be doing this and to be like carving out this space for themselves. And like, I don't know. I like looking back, I'm like proud of them.
It was so like authentic, I feel like.
Yeah.
And they would hide their kids' identities, things like that. And then, so when did it start becoming, I mean, YouTube happens. And then when do we start getting family channels?
Yeah. So kind of in like the late aughts and early 2010s is when family channels really started like popping off and people were able to gain millions of subscribers on YouTube and like really quite what would be considered like a short amount of time. And that was before the market was like so saturated too. So it was like these families were like finding this like incredible success. And then of course, Instagram came and that changed everything. Like when I was talking to the original mommy bloggers for my book, they were like, Instagram changed our jobs from writing to being beautiful and taking beautiful pictures and showing beautiful things. And I think YouTube and Instagram, just by virtue of being, you know, visually based, just changed everything.
Your hair is so much more than what you see when you look in the mirror. From stress and nutrition to hormones to lifestyle, so many internal factors affect what you see on the outside. With Nutrafol's science-backed whole-body approach, nourish growth from within and achieve your best hair yet. Nutrafol is the #1 dermatologist-recommended hair growth supplement brand, trusted by over 1 million people. See thicker, stronger, faster-growing hair with less shedding in just 3 to 6 months with Nutrafol. Physician-formulated with 100% drug-free ingredients, Nutrafol supports healthy hair growth from within by targeting key root causes of thinning: stress, hormones, aging, nutrition, lifestyle, and metabolism through whole-body health. While many supplements rely solely on ingredient studies, Nutrafol clinically tests final formulations to ensure their efficacy. In a clinical study, 72% of men saw more scalp coverage after taking Nutrafol Men Hair Growth Supplement for 6 months, and 86% of women saw improved hair growth after taking Nutrafol Women Hair Growth Supplement for 6 months. Building a hair growth routine is simple. Purchase online, no prescription required. Automated deliveries and free shipping keep you on track. Plus, with a Nutrafol subscription, you can save up to 20%. You'll have access to free naturopathic doctor consults, and a Headspace meditation membership is included. Start your hair growth journey with Nutrafol. For a limited time, Nutrafol is offering our listeners $10 off your first month's subscription and free shipping when you go to Nutrafol.com and enter the promo code BWM. Find out why over 4,500 healthcare professionals and stylists recommend Nutrafol for healthier hair. Nutrafol.com, spelled Nutrafol.com, promo code BWM. That's Nutrafol.com, promo code BWM. I was looking for a day job. As you guys know from listening to this show, making money consistently is really important, and it's really scary when it's not happening. And so I was looking for a job, and I was looking all over. I was going to places. I was trying to do that old school thing of maybe you just leave a resume at the smoothie shop. I don't know. But I found my job so easily using Indeed. And I actually recommended Indeed to other people to use when they come in and they say, oh, how can I work here? I say, I actually found the job on Indeed. So go look at Indeed, because that is literally how I found my job and applied and got hired. When it comes to hiring, Indeed is all you need. Stop struggling to get your job posts seen on other job sites. Indeed's sponsored jobs help you stand out and hire fast. With sponsored jobs, your post jumps to the top of the page for your relevant candidates, so you can reach people you want faster. And it makes a huge difference. According to Indeed data, sponsored jobs posted directly on Indeed have 45% more applications than non-sponsored jobs. One of the things I love about Indeed is that it matched me to the right job. It showed me exactly the types of jobs I was looking for. I was able to parse through. I was able to see the locations. I was able to see the requirements. I was able to apply. I don't know how I would have done it without Indeed, truly. And it obviously allowed this business to find the right people, aka me. With Indeed sponsored jobs, there's no monthly subscriptions, no long-term contracts, and you only pay for results. How fast is Indeed? In the minute I've been talking to you, 23 hires were made on Indeed, according to Indeed data worldwide. There is no need to wait any longer. Speed up your hiring right now with Indeed. And listeners of this show will get a $75 sponsored job credit to get your jobs more visibility at Indeed.com/badwithmoney. Just go to Indeed.com/badwithmoney right now and support our show by saying you heard about Indeed on this podcast. Indeed.com/badwithmoney. Terms and conditions apply. Hiring, Indeed is all you need.
You just realized your business needed to hire someone yesterday. How can you find amazing candidates fast? Easy. Just use Indeed. Stop struggling to get your job post seen on other job sites. With Indeed sponsored jobs, your post jumps to the top of the page for your relevant candidates, so you can reach the people you want faster. According to Indeed data, sponsored jobs posted directly on Indeed have 45% more applications than non-sponsored jobs. Don't wait any longer. Speed up your hiring right now with Indeed. And listeners of this show will get a $75 sponsored job credit to get your jobs more visibility at Indeed.com/PODKATZ12. Just go to Indeed.com/PODKATZ12 right now and support our show by saying you heard about Indeed on this podcast. Terms and conditions apply. Hiring? Indeed is all you need.
It's so funny because back in the day of YouTube, things looked kind of janky, and that was kind of fun.
Mhm.
And then it got so polished, it was like basically TV. And
Totally.
then now Instagram as well. And then now I feel, because I was like indie sleaze aesthetic, whatever.
Same.
And then now, well, you said Tumblr, so yeah. And then now, oh, let's post the outtake photo. Like now it's back
Right.
to being like, but it's almost more curated than the beginning of YouTube, which was, people say a Wild West, and it kind of was.
Yeah.
But like posting your family, I think maybe people said, oh, there's reality shows about families, so maybe my family would be interesting. And it was a naivete almost of what the internet really was. I remember, okay, so there was like Shay Carl,
yeah.
and were the Ballingers doing stuff?
The
at that
Ballingers were,
time?
one of the original families. I would say that Shay was like, honestly, like the father of family vlogging in a way.
Mhm.
And there were the Ballingers. There were, those like original families. There were the Frankies, of course, that came
Mhm.
like a little bit later, and that like devolved into something entirely different. But those original families, I mean, made literally millions of dollars.
Mhm. Was there a big, like, I feel like, okay, when did Shay Carl get divorced? Because there was like this big thing where everything was so perfect.
I don't think he got divorced, but he had like a cheating
scandal. Yeah. Okay. So it was just like, what were they doing originally? Was it just a day in our life, or was it challenges, or
it was kind of both. So it was a day in the life of just like kind of the content that you see on TikTok now of like, watch me get my 8 kids or however many ready for school, because like so many of these families have so many kids because a lot of them are Mormon, and Mormons tend to have a lot of kids. But it was stuff like that. Or it was like, then as YouTube grew, it kind of changed into that. Like, one that sticks in my mind is this family that I interviewed who said that one of their most viral videos ever with like tens of millions of views was where the kids like spun a little thing and it landed on a color, and they had to only eat that color food for 24 hours. So like green, you could only eat green food for like 24 hours. And like each kid had a different color. So it's like these like kind of silly challenges.
Mhm. That's cute, but you don't have to show that online.
Yeah.
So, okay. So the mommy bloggers were depicting real life and sharing these real experiences.
Mhm.
Then Instagram came. It was a visual medium. Then everything had to look perfect. Who were the first like Instagram people?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think it depends like what like kind of mommy influencer you were like into, because there are like so many different kinds. But like one of the ones that I think about, and this is kind of like a YouTube / Instagram like crossover, but I think of like the LeBrant family. And although back then Savannah was not married to Cole yet, so it was just like Savannah and her daughter Everly, and they were really big on Instagram and YouTube. And I always think of them, and they're still huge. I mean, between the whole family, they have tens of millions of followers and subscribers.
Okay, how do I parse this out? So then everything was perfect. Then Shay Carl had the cheating scandal. Then like things started to kind of open up as being sort of strange. Was there like a first wave of these kids? Wait a minute, this is like kind of problematic.
Well, I think that wave is happening right now.
It's happening now. It had not happened before, right?
No. I wrote a story for Teen Vogue in 2023, and it went like massively viral. And it was the first story where someone had talked to one of these kids that grew up on a YouTube channel. And so I talked to this young woman who I call Claire because it's a pseudonym. So I want to make that very clear. Everyone's like, who is it? Who is it? Is it Claire this, Claire that? And I'm like, it's not her real name.
Yeah.
But Claire, who first went viral when she was a toddler and has spent her entire life on YouTube in this family vlogging channel. And I think like reporters were reporting on this topic before. I'm not saying like I created this.
Yeah.
But that was really the first time that someone who had been in that world said, hey, this is what it was like.
And what did she say?
So she said that if she could go back, she would never have done any of it. But of course, she didn't have that choice because she was a child when it began. I mean, she was a toddler the first time she went viral, like I said. And after a while, after like just a handful of years, really not that long, her parents were making enough money from the YouTube channel that they were able to quit their jobs, and YouTube became like the family business. And Claire says that once she went to her dad and said, I don't really want to do YouTube anymore, whatever. And her dad said, okay, but we just moved into this new house. We're going to have to move out of it. We're going to have to get rid of this. You're going to have to, Mom and I are going to have to go back to work. There's not going to be money for nice things. And so you kind of wonder like what kind of choice that is like giving to a kid if you're like, because that seems like an enormous amount of pressure to me.
And I feel like it's different than being the kid of like a famous actor. Like obviously, the Jolie kids are immediately famous because they're Angelina Jolie's kids. But there's less of a invasive, we're going to film inside the house. You are like, you wake up and your content, and then, there was.
Right.
What is initially appealing, or what is appealing to an audience about these families?
That is a good question. And I've really looked into it for my book. I've talked to hundreds of fans and former fans. And a lot of it, it's really kind of heartbreaking. A lot of it is young people watching families because they are not in a healthy family situation. And it's soothing for them to watch something that seems so caring and lovely and nice. So that's one thing. There's also just like, and this is kind of how I feel when I get into the weeds with like TikTok creators or YouTubers, is that like there's just a part of us that is so curious about how other people live. Like it's why we watch reality TV. It's why I read books. Like I just want to know what other people are doing. And like this really feeds into that. Yeah.
And it gives you room to criticize too.
Totally.
Like, that's not what I would do. Every time I see a video of a dog, it's always like millions of comments being like, dogs will die if you do this. And I'm like, oh my God, the dog ate one thing of cereal. Like, calm down.
No, and that's how it is with kids too.
Yes.
Like you post anything about kids. And I mean, I don't post my daughter online for like a multitude of reasons, but like one of them is that I can't have thousands of people like commenting on my parenting, but like you can do the most innocuous thing and people are like, your baby's going to die. You're a terrible mother. You never should have had kids. Like, it's just like, yeah.
Have you or someone you know been a victim of identity theft, harassed, stalked, doxxed? Privacy matters, especially to someone like me who has a bit of a public persona, but it also matters to my listeners because this kind of thing can happen to anyone. Do you ever wonder how much of your personal data is out there on the internet for anyone to see? More than you think. Your name, your contact info, your social security number, your home address, even information about your family members, all compiled by data brokers and sold online. Data brokers make a profit off your data, and your data is a commodity. Anyone on the web can buy your private details. This can lead to identity theft, phishing attempts, harassment, and unwanted spam calls. But you can now protect your privacy with Delete Me. I share a lot of my life online, so I am hyper aware of my safety and security. It's easier than ever before to find personal information about people online, and all of this data is just hanging out on the web, but it can have actual consequences in the real world. I have used Delete Me. I had an instance where some stuff was going on Reddit. I don't want to draw more attention to it, but I used Delete Me because a friend of mine who's a sex worker actually told me about it. And it's something that a lot of women online use in order to keep their information safe from stalkers and harassers. The solution that we used is called Delete Me. It is a subscription service that removes your personal info from hundreds of data brokers. I have actually used this. I used this years ago, and so that's why I'm choosing to personally endorse it. If you sign up and provide Delete Me with exactly what information you want deleted, their experts take it from there. Delete Me sends you regular personalized privacy reports showing what info they found, where they found it, and what they removed. Delete Me isn't just a one-time service. It is always working for you, constantly monitoring and removing the personal information you don't want on the internet. To put it simply, Delete Me does all the hard work of wiping you and your family's personal information from data broker websites. Take control of your data and keep your private life private by signing up for Delete Me, now at a special discount for my listeners. Today, get 20% off your Delete Me plan by texting BAD MONEY to 64000. Text BAD MONEY to 64000. That's BAD MONEY, all one word, to 64000. Message and data rates may apply. See terms for details.
You just realized your business needed to hire someone yesterday. How can you find amazing candidates fast? Easy. Just use Indeed. Stop struggling to get your job post seen on other job sites. With Indeed sponsored jobs, your post jumps to the top of the page for your relevant candidates, so you can reach the people you want faster. According to Indeed data, sponsored jobs posted directly on Indeed have 45% more applications than non-sponsored jobs. Don't wait any longer. Speed up your hiring right now with Indeed. And listeners of this show will get a $75 sponsored job credit to get your jobs more visibility at Indeed.com/PODKATZ13. Just go to Indeed.com/PODKATZ13 right now and support our show by saying you heard about Indeed on this podcast. Terms and conditions apply. Hiring? Indeed is all you need.
I mean, and then the other thing is, I do understand the loneliness of wanting to watch a family when people are so isolated and like may not have the gift of that.
Right.
But okay, the thing is though, is that I get really itchy and antsy about anything with the kids, and especially when they're really young.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, my personal thing is like, I did so many embarrassing things. I have tons of baby videos. I have, a lot of silly videos from when I was a kid. And like, we had just gotten the camcorder when I was born. And there was no indication that anyone other than family would watch these things.
Right.
And I was mortified that my parents would even like go to synagogue and talk about what I was doing as a kid or what I was doing in the home. Or I had like a super embarrassing moment where my mom shared something with another mom, and then that mom told her kid, and then the kid was bullying me about it. So whenever I see something where it's a kid crying or a kid doing, like, I used to have to unfollow. There was like a friend of a friend who I followed who posted a lot about her son. And one video she posted was him on the toilet crying to telling her to stop filming. And she was like, haha, isn't that so funny? I think a lot of that also comes from my own discomfort with my parents, and I'll say my mom, and other parents, watching other parents treat their kids like extensions of them. So it's okay to tell or post whatever because you are an extension of me. And also that everything you do is funny and not that of like a real human person.
Right. Like taking it seriously.
Yeah. Like, oh, it's so funny that you asked for a boundary. It's so funny that you spilled this. It's so funny that you, whatever, these things, or what you said or what you thought. But there's now the thing of they go to school. People can watch all their videos. People can see them being born. People can see, when they told their parents they thought babies came out of the man's pee-pee, like, whatever
Totally.
it is. I guess the incentive is positive attention for having the kid. And the
Well,
kid my friend told me her kid gets the most views.
yeah, I believe that. And in my research, content with kids does the best. And I think like there are like a couple explanations for that. But I mean, kids are like really cute, and like they're funny and they're sweet. And like, when you see a video, it's like, I think it's like natural to want to like watch that. But yeah, content with kids does much better than content of like just a mom or just a dad.
Does it matter if the kid is happy or sad in terms of how the content does?
Unfortunately, it seems that a sad kid or a distressed kid does the best.
Right?
Yeah.
What happens to these kids like Charlie Bit My Finger or the like Success Kid or, the little girl who said like, I mean, I love her, who was like, it's freaking bats. But like,
or like, look at all those chickens or like, whatever.
Like what happens to those kids?
I mean, I haven't talked to them. I have tried like, I don't want to say like hunt them down, but to like find them. But I think with those like one-off viral moments, it's like much easier to kind of just be like, whatever. Cause like when you grow up, like if I saw the like Charlie Bit My Finger kid, I wouldn't know that that's who it was. You know what I mean? But like these influencer kids, we've literally watched them since they were like in the womb. And like, if I saw an influencer kid out in public that I've like watched, like I would know them.
Right. I guess that's true. I know it's like some of that stuff causes the parents to make more content about the kid, for the kid. And it's probably either a fun fact or deeply embarrassing when others find out that was you.
And maybe both.
Yeah, maybe both. So let's go back. What was the deal with the Frankies?
Yeah. Oh, geez. Okay. So the Frankies were a family in Utah. They were like, I call them family vlogging royalty. They had a channel called 8 Passengers because they had 6 kids. So 6 + 2, 8.
Okay.
And they were Mormon in Utah, and they did, family content. They did just like the usual family vlogger stuff. Eventually I think it was like in 2020, there were kind of like some rumblings online of like, Ruby, the mother, is like a pretty strict parent and like things are feeling kind of weird. And then there was this video where her son said that as a punishment, he had been like sleeping on a beanbag for months and like wasn't able to like sleep like in his bed, like as a punishment. And they kind of got like, quote, canceled for that. And
they posted it of themselves.
Yeah.
So they thought that was fine.
Totally. I mean, it seems like it, right? Because why would you post it otherwise? Now kind of the story has like taken a total terrible turn, and Ruby, the mother, was arrested and charged with aggravated child abuse. And it turns out that she had like fallen into this, like what the family considers to be like this like cult leader's clutches. It's like this whole, I mean, we could have like an entire episode just on them. But when that came out, the charges of child abuse against Ruby Franke, people really took that as evidence that you cannot know what is really going on behind the scenes in family vlogs. And I always say this, like, God willing, that is not the case in other families. Like, I do not want, obviously, like for that to be the case. But I do think that it showed us that you don't know what's happening behind the camera.
Is it abuse because the children are working in like they don't have labor laws, they don't have a union, they're working every single day, everything that happens to them is work, and it's like hard to view it that way because they present everything as so fun and spending family time. But whenever I see videos of, and it's also hard because like, yes, you want to like have parents who are teaching or you want representation.
Totally.
Like this one kid who has 2 gay dads, like, okay. But whenever I see a parent talking with a kid and they've set up the camera and they're talking to the kid about why they're punished and what they've done wrong. And then everyone in the comments is like, such great, gentle parenting. I'm like, why is it not enough, in your opinion or research, to just have these moments with your child?
Well, that's the question, right? And I think there are a few different answers depending on how you look at it. If you want to look at it totally like either cynically or maybe just without any rose-colored glasses, maybe it's just because of the money and the acclaim and the attention and the followers and the dopamine that comes from people telling you that you're a great parent. Maybe it's because they really do feel this calling to like share their parenting with the world and like help other people become like gentle parents or like whatever it is. I guess it depends how you look at it, but like, it's interesting because my daughter is not even yet 1. And I have noticed that if I'm taking a video of her to like send to my in-laws or to send to my parents, when she notices the camera, it changes something. Mm-hmm. And I immediately, when she notices it, like put it away because I don't like, and she's not even 1, but it changes her like interaction with me and it like sullies it in a way is how I feel. And she's a baby.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I didn't get it, I think, for a while. And because the girl, Allison, who I do a lot of my work with, her sister was very against posting the kids online.
Yeah. And
I thought that was kind of strange. And this was like when I worked at BuzzFeed and thought everything was content.
Yeah.
And
right.
I think it's so unfair and so like what you were talking about where the parents make this their job. Mm-hmm. And so to them, it's maybe fun or they start to see the kids as employees or workers or get frustrated with them because they need them to do a certain thing. Mm-hmm. Or every family moment is used as content, so you can't really ever relax or trust your parents. Mm-hmm. Like the meme where you like smash an egg on their head.
Ugh, yeah, I hated that.
Like there's so many things that require abusing your child's trust that I feel comfortable calling family vlogging like abusive in the way that it operates.
I think that it depends how you view it. And it also, I do think it's important to say that some kids do like this. They want to be influencers. They want to be YouTubers. I've interviewed kids for my book who are like, no, I love this, whatever. And maybe they'll change their mind in the future and maybe they won't. But I do think it's important to note that it's not just 100% like they hate it. And some of them we've already seen have grown up and, created their own platforms based on that. And, we'll never have to have like a 9-to-5 job. But I do think that the lack of boundaries and the conflation of work and life is really, can really affect a child.
That's what I'm saying, that they might only think that they like it because it's like a cult. And that's the parent, I do hear parents say, well, I put enough money away for them to go to college for free. And like there are positives in that way. And the kids get to go to movie premieres and, they get to have these fun experiences. But it must also be so isolating for them from their peers, like at school.
Yeah, I think it definitely can be. From the people that I've talked to, there are sometimes experiences where they're not sure why other kids want to be their friends, if it's for them or if it's for like the YouTube channel. Mm-hmm. This one young woman told me that people were like clamoring to be her friend. But then once they realized that her parents didn't like feature anyone else on the channel, they were like, oh, never mind, so they're just like wanting the clout. So yeah, that can be really difficult. And like, it's hard enough to be a young kid, you know?
You're a startup founder. Finding product market fit is probably your number one priority. But to land bigger customers, you also need security compliance. Obtaining your SOC 2 or ISO 27001 certification can open those big doors, but they take time and energy, pulling you away from building and shipping. That's where Vanta comes in. Vanta is the all-in-one compliance solution helping startups get audit ready and build a strong security foundation quickly and painlessly. Vanta automates the manual security tasks that slow you down, helping you streamline your audit. The platform connects you with trusted experts to build your program, auditors to get you through audits quickly, and a marketplace for essentials like pen testing. So whether you're closing your first deal or gearing up for growth, Vanta makes compliance easy. Join over 8,000 companies, including Y Combinator and Techstar startups who trust Vanta. For a limited time, get $1,000 off Vanta at vanta.com/simplify. That's VANTA.com/simplify for $1,000 off.
So when did the tides start to turn? Because now whenever I see content about kids, there's so many comments being like, don't post your kids. And that never used to be a thing.
No, definitely not. So I think it was a few things. So it was the Frankie scandal. I hesitate to call it a scandal because it was child abuse, but that entire situation, that was one of the things. There was that YouTuber, Micah Stauffer, who adopted a child from China and made a ton of content with him, and then like changed the adoption, and he was adopted by another family.
Rehomed, question mark.
Yeah, question mark. I'm like trying not to like say
like he's a puppy.
Yeah. And people were like, wait, where did this kid go? So there was that. There was an influencer who accidentally uploaded a video of herself like coaching her child to cry. And like all these kinds of things happened like within like a couple years, and people were like, wait, side eye.
Yeah, I think there's also been a rise of like anti-mommy vloggers, people who like Sarah Adams and people who are exposing this stuff. Because the other side of it, Allison's sister, the concern is where the content ends up. Pedophilia, CSAM, people now being interested in selling, doing like a Patreon or exclusive videos or selling of kids. Like, can you talk about that?
Yeah. The New York Times did an incredible investigation on that where, there are like subscriptions that parents sell where you can get like exclusive content of the kids or like content that they wouldn't normally post to the entire audience. And, just the idea of that is pretty disturbing.
You can buy them clothing, they'll wear it. You can like get, it's, and it's just, I don't know if it's naivete or if it's on purpose, because it was saying that a lot of these, I saw that article and it was saying that a lot of these subscribers are men. Like, what's that about? I mean, we know what that's about, but
right. And the journalist seemed to ask them straight up, like, what do you think about this? And they did seem aware of it. So I don't know that it's naivete. I don't think it can be at this point.
Well, what did they say as an excuse?
I mean, I can only speak to, I interviewed this mom who is the mom of these two young girls who are like huge influencers, like millions of followers, blah, blah, blah. And I asked her, like, do you worry about people like looking at this content like in a nefarious way? And she said, I do worry about that, especially when I post videos of my young daughter dancing, because, just like when you're in dance, like you have to wear like, much less clothing than you would kind of like otherwise. And she said, like, I noticed that gets like kind of more attention when I post that. And so I said, okay, so what did you do once you realized that? And she said, well, I only posted a few times a year now. And I was
oh my God.
I was just like, okay. And she was like, well, and I've heard this from several vloggers and influencers. We can't let creeps like dictate our lives. Like,
oh
we can't,
my God.
We can't give in to them. And
yeah, because they're giving you a lot of money. Yeah. So the other thing is these shows that are kind of like kids say the darndest things. Well, now I'm thinking about the idea of a child having fans. I am not necessarily against like shows like Recess Therapy, but the ways in which a couple of those kids have been adultized and made famous. And I'm like, okay, once they get to a certain age, are people still going to be fans of them? And also, what does it mean to be a fan of a child?
Yeah. I know. I don't know. I don't know what it means.
And I understand how it's compelling and how it's interesting to like get wisdom from kids or like see what kids are talking about. And perhaps there is more of a structure to a show like that where, kids react or whatever, where the parents are bringing them and they're maybe trying to break into Hollywood or something. But as they age, the parents need to provide a new young one.
Yeah.
So I don't know if it's just because they're Mormon or if it's because they need to provide more content.
I know everyone asks me that. Everyone's like, do you think influencers have babies for content? And like, I've really looked into this. I have to save it for my book. I'm sorry to be that person, but like,
that's okay.
But it's a fascinating question. And there are a lot of opinions.
And babies do better, you were about to say.
Babies do better. Yeah. Pregnancy does amazing. Reveals, gender reveals, name reveals. And there's so many sponsorship deals with pregnancy and babies. Like there's just so much. So yeah, babies do better. Toddlers do well. Older kids, not as much.
Do the sponsorships, how is it for kids to be doing ads? Like, is there any kind of, I know there's now legislation trying to make sure that they get a cut, or like what's the changes that have been made there?
Yeah. So there's 3 states in the country that have laws regarding the profits of influencer children. So the first was Illinois, the second was Minnesota, and the third was California. Outside of those 3 states, it is the Wild West. Kids can work their entire childhoods, adolescence, and reach the age of 18 and have not a penny set aside for them. And that is legal. It's basically like what it was like before there were child actor laws. Although I will note that the child actor laws are not federal, they're state, and it's not every state. So there are like 17 states, I want to say, that don't even have child actor laws. So people are like, why don't they just like change the child actor laws? And I'm like, dude, they're still like working on that,
Yeah.
and like it's not. Yeah. Anyway, so there are 3 states that have laws regarding the profits of influencer children. And there are about, I want to say like in the neighborhood of 10 that are either have introduced legislation, similar legislation, or are like considering it. But yeah, only 3 states.
Interesting. I mean, do you think they could adapt the child actor laws to fit influencer kids?
Like potentially. I hesitate to like answer because I don't know much like about, like I'm not a lawyer, but I will say that in California, they said that the child influencer law is basically the Coogan law, the child actor law for the digital age. And so I do think it like lays like a groundwork. And so, we understand how to protect kids in entertainment to some extent. And so you can kind of like use that. And especially now that there have been 3 laws that have been passed, like other states can kind of piggyback off those laws. And so I think that's really helpful. Like Illinois passing the first law was like huge because no one had done it. And then it was easier for Minnesota. And then it was even easier for California.
Yeah. California makes sense because that's the child actor.
Yeah.
Now there's even pushback on whether kids should be acting, whether kids should be working, because it's not fair that they're working.
Right.
Even though there are kids, like you said, who really want to do it and who really like love. And I think that's a tough one. But also I know there are a lot of ways in which kids do have, like, I saw Taxi Driver, and then like the way that Jodie Foster, there's scenes in that are like, I cannot believe a child is doing this.
Yeah. And
so, I think it does probably affect you, but is it paternalistic to like be telling people what they can and can't do? I don't know.
Right. Well, it's also like we live in America where people are very hesitant to get in between parents and the choices that they make for their children.
Exactly. Yeah. Or I just am worried that these kids don't know anything else. So they live in a world where everything they do could be put online. Everything they tell their parents is public. Everything they And like, you're right that it is now they are starting to be able to speak about it and to say, I didn't really have a choice. I was born into this. You know, I didn't really have any say on what I did. I didn't know if my parents and I were having a serious conversation, if they were going to post it or if they were going to talk about it.
Right.
I think that there was, you know, like in the beginning, it was like, okay, we're going to have a username on the internet and we're not going to know who we are. Then it became, we're going to put our whole government name on everything and say, show our house and say everything. And now I feel like in general, we're going back to a place where it's like, actually don't know anything about me.
Yeah, the pendulum is definitely swinging. And I think that's just how culture is. Like we swing to one side and we go maybe a little bit far and then we swing back. And so we swung into oversharing and sharing everything. And now we're kind of going back into this like element of privacy. And I think the fascinating thing is that you can see this not only with influencers who some of whom created their platforms off of sharing their kids and their parenthood journeys and are not sharing their kids now, but there are also like regular people who are not showing their kids online. And that was never a question like 5 years ago. Like I always think about my brother, who is like the least online person I know, doesn't show his child online. And I asked him why. And he just said, I just don't see a reason why. Like, why do they need to be on there? And I was just like, it's just fairly interesting to me how it kind of trickles down.
Yeah. Why do I need to post them? Where are the photos going? If I want to show people the baby, I can just email them or text them.
Yeah.
Because that was the other thing was like, well, I gotta, you know, that's how people get updates on my kid or whatever.
Right.
It just creeps me out.
Yeah, there are a lot of considerations. I think I wrote a story about this for the Washington Post about how regular parents are kind of making this move now. And people told me they're worried about like, yeah, who sees the pictures, where the pictures go. They're worried about just like privacy in general. Like they just think my child can't consent. And so why am I like making this decision for them and starting this online footprint that they have not consented to? And then there's also just this like general feeling of like unease, which is kind of how I feel, which is just like, why do people that I don't know that well or don't know at all need to see my child? Like if you need to see my child, then you're close enough to me that I will just text you pictures. Or like, we sent out like a holiday card this year for the first time because I was like, oh, we don't post the baby online. And so people, I want people to see her, but I want specific people to see her.
Yeah, there's danger too. I mean, there's the idea of a stranger knowing enough about the kid to get them to go in the car or a stranger knowing what school the kid goes to.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's just all these parenting questions that generations before us didn't have to consider. And I think the first generation to really consider it didn't give it this kind of attention and really posted literally everything. And now people are like, maybe not.
Yeah. Andy Cohen does a thing where he talks to his kid off camera. So you just hear the kid's voice and he gets like the funny stuff, but you don't ever see the kid. But even that, I'm like, I don't know.
I know. It's like, I don't know where the line is. And I think each parent has to figure that out for themselves. And like, I'm trying to navigate that myself. You know, I think we all are. This is the world that we live in now.
Well, thank you so much for joining us and allowing me to rant and rail. Where can people find you and find out more about you?
Yes. Instagram and TikTok is where I hang out the most. I'm Hi Fortesa, HIFORTESA. I'm on Substack at What's the Vibe. And if you're interested in this is literally all that I write, talk, make videos about. So just come hang.
Okay. I'll be there.
You're like, twist my arm.
Yeah, exactly. It's just a hate. Sometimes I'm like, you're giving them views by talking about hating it so much, but I'm not watching it. I'm just being a hater.
Listen, it's a hard world. We're doing our best.
Bad with Money with Gabriel S. Dunn is a production of Noted Bisexual, produced by Melisa D. Monts and Diamond MPrint Productions. Edited by Diane and Kang, post-production sound by Coco Llorens, production assistance by Melanie D. Watson, and music by Mike Kaplan, Zach Sherwin, and Jack Dolgen, sung by Sam Barbera. Thank you, love you, bye!
Owning a boat comes with a number of perks. like being able to say ahoy or land ho and not feel weird about it. So here's another perk. Geico's boat insurance offers access to the largest towing fleet on the water. And with specialist support from agents that are as passionate about boating as you are, there's so much value that you'll want to say, shiver me timbers, and not feel weird about that either. Get more with Geico.
You just realized your business needed to hire someone yesterday. How can you find amazing candidates fast? Easy. Just use Indeed. Stop struggling to get your job post seen on other job sites. With Indeed sponsored jobs, your post jumps to the top of the page for your relevant candidates, so you can reach the people you want faster. According to Indeed data, sponsored jobs posted directly on Indeed have 45% more applications than non-sponsored jobs. Don't wait any longer. Speed up your hiring right now with Indeed. And listeners of this show will get a $75 sponsored job credit to get your jobs more visibility at Indeed.com/PODKATZ12. Just go to Indeed.com/PODKATZ12 right now and support our show by saying you heard about Indeed on this podcast. Terms and conditions apply. Hiring? Indeed is all you need.